He was adored by Hollywood for 4 decades. Currently, they are evading capture. Angry at Richard Dreyfuss, Bill Murray hurled an ashtray at his head. He brought Lucy Liu to tears on set. Without her knowledge or consent, he kissed a young woman as she was stuck beneath his body. This wasn't an isolated incident. Years of brutality that no one dared to bring up. He was the reason Disney rejected a $20 million picture. He went 2 decades without hearing from his best friend. Much worse than anyone had anticipated, the reality is now emerging. Bill Murray came into this world in Evanston, Illinois, on September 21, 1950. His dad was a lumber salesman, while his mom was a mailroom worker. Bill and his 8 siblings spent their childhood in the Chicago suburb of Wilmette. Always a little bit crazy, the house was loud and full with people. He may have developed his sense of humor in that type of setting, where one had to speak out in order to be heard. The Irish Catholic lineage of his ancestors can be traced to the Irish counties of Galway and Cork. Despite Bill's strong faith and loving family, he was tragically struck with a devastating loss at the tender age of 17. Diabetic problems were the cause of his father's death. As a result, Bill lost the guy he most admired and his family lost a father figure. Bill drew solace as a teenager from biographies of American heroes such as Davy Crockett. He supplemented his school funding by working as a golf caddy. He started to see people in a way that would come out in his comedy during those long hours on the golf course. He attended a university in Denver to pursue pre-med after graduating from high school. Although I sensed an unease, he quickly returned home after dropping out of medical school since he lacked enthusiasm for the field. Years later, the same institution bestowed an honorary degree upon him, recognizing his cultural influence rather than his scholarly achievements. Something happened about this period that could have completely destroyed everything. On the day he turned 20, Bill was apprehended at O'Hare Airport in Chicago for attempting to transport around 10 pounds of marijuana. A search was initiated when he made a joke to another traveler about having a bomb in his luggage. He was spared jail time, but yet had to re-evaluate his life after the incident, which led to his probation. Comedy came into play shortly after this tipping point. Already a fixture in Chicago's comic scene was Brian Doyle Murray, Bill's older brother. The renowned comic troupe The Second City is known for launching huge careers. He sent an invitation to Bill to join, and Bill accepted. Everything would be altered by that choice. Del Close, a legendary figure in the development of American comedy, was Bill's instructor at Second City. For the actors, Close said to be themselves weird, brave, and honest. Bill honed his distinctive deadpan delivery while working with him. Even the most serious situations may be made humorous by him. His subsequent works would revolve around that style. A heckler went too far during one of his performances. Bill allegedly transported the injured man to the hospital after breaking his arm and then buying him a beer. He brought that kind of untamed intensity to the stage. Bill relocated to the Big Apple in 1974. Because of John Belushi, he became a member of the cast of the National Lampoon Radio Hour, a radio comedy program. Future Hollywood, A-listers like Gilda Radner, Chevy Chase, Harold Ramis, and Dan Aykroyd were all part of the ensemble. At the time, they were all complete strangers who were merely attempting to make each other laugh. This close-knit crew served as the springboard for far greater things to come. However, Bill had an unusual diversion before he arrived at Saturday Night Live on NBC. His role on another show changed in 1975, hosted by Howard Cosell on Saturday Night Live, a BC. The primetime variety show was hosted by a sportscaster who lacked any comedic experience. Despite the rapid failure of the show, Bill, Brian, and Christopher Guest all got valuable television experience. They mocked the ABC show by referring to their cast as not ready for primetime players when NBC's Saturday Night Live debuted. Everyone laughed. Bill replaced Chevy Chase on Saturday Night Live, SNL, on NBC in 1977. It set a high bar to be followed. Skepticism pervaded the audiences. His initial sketches were unsuccessful. Additionally, tensions were high behind the scenes. Backstage, just before the event began, Chevy and Bill got into a physical altercation in 1978, when Chevy returned to host. According to reports, Bill deemed him to have middling talent. Immediately following that, they were compelled to work as a team. Their animosity would fester for a long time. Regardless, Bill persisted and came up with some of the most iconic characters from the show. The cringe-worthy nightclub act, Nick the Lounge Singer, who sang popular tunes with absurd self-assurance, was one of his most popular creations. He became famous for his cover of the Star Wars theme song, which featured entirely made-up lyrics. Everything that set Bill apart was encapsulated by his persona. Extremely genuine, dry, and ridiculous. On and off camera, his friendship with Gilda Radner deepened during his tenure at SNL. In the comedy, they portrayed nerdy teens, and their real-life relationship reflected the highs and lows of their on-screen personas. They quarreled frequently, occasionally in full view of the audience. Beneath it all, there was genuine affection. "No one could make Bill laugh like Gilda," he said at one point. When she laughed too hard, she would bolt from the room or perhaps pee herself. Bill was devastated when she passed away years after their relationship ended. Forever etched in his mind was her image. Bill received an Emmy for his writing while he was a part of the show. His entry into Hollywood was facilitated by the credibility it bestowed upon him. Meatballs, Caddyshack, Stripes, and Ghostbusters were among the films in which he quickly became a star. In an industry dominated by more showy comedians, his spare, eccentric style stood out. His experience on Saturday Night Live had equipped him with the skills to subtly amuse an audience and keep their attention. After some time had passed, he would return to SNL for its 50th anniversary and receive another Emmy, this time for drama. With the help of a multi-generational ensemble, he reprised his role as Nick the Lounge Singer. He then confessed that he had shed 3 tears while viewing the tribute films. That night brought back the beginning. Bill Murray's 1979 low-budget feature Meatballs was the catalyst for his eventual stardom. No one was expecting much from the Canadian-shot low-budget comedy. Something odd occurred, though, when it debuted in theaters. It was an enormous success. The film quickly became a financial success after debuting in a small number of Toronto theaters. Millions of people flocked to it as it quickly expanded across North America. It was Murray's breakout role in film and the highest-grossing Canadian film of all time. His charisma came from his easygoing, sardonic manner, which people adored. Director Ivan Reitman was the brains behind Meatballs, and the picture helped propel him to stardom. That was just the beginning of Reitman and Murray's collaboration. Harold Ramis, an actor and writer, and Murray both worked together around this time. They collaborated on several blockbuster comedies in the early 1980s, including Caddyshack, Stripes, and Ghostbusters. They made an ideal squad. Murray had a gift for bringing out Ramis's comedic timing, and the actor had a keen eye for the material. Ghostbusters, a zany comedy about paranormal investigators, was their breakout smash in 1984. However, Murray faced challenges along the route to success. He also decided that year that he wanted to change things up. After finishing the somber book, The Razor's Edge, he was adamant on adapting it for the big screen. Murray struck a deal, despite the studio's uncertainty. If Ghostbusters were to finance The Razor's Edge, he would gladly star in it. Therefore, that is what they did. The problem was that nobody related to it when it was released. Both audiences and reviews were unimpressed by the film. His performance in the dramatic part was criticized by several. His act had a greater meaning for others. Failure still struck him hard. Murray stepped away from the limelight thereafter. He spent time with his loved ones, studied philosophy and history, and traveled around Europe. Murray needed a vacation, which was an unusual decision for someone who had recently become a huge star. He avoided big-budget movies for a long time. The reception he received upon his return with Scrooge and Ghostbusters 2 was less than satisfactory. Although audiences enjoyed the films, box office returns fell short of projections. Beginning in the 1990s, he starred in a string of critically panned films. Funny films, like The Man Who Knew Too Little and Larger Than Life. The studios started to question his ability to still carry a film. As time went on, Murray became further estranged from the Hollywood scene. He was dissatisfied with the way things were handled in the background. Nothing piqued his interest in scripts, and he was tired of playing the same characters in different parts. Finally, he did something out of the ordinary. He ceased utilizing managers and agents completely. As a result, not even major studios could get in touch with him. As he waited for the appropriate jobs to come his way, he became choosy and nearly lazy. He said, he ventured into uncharted territory in 1990. Quick Change, a smart heist comedy, was co-directed by him, in which he also had a leading role. One of his most astute performances, according to critics. Unfortunately, ticket sales were low. When the picture bombed at the box office, it reinforced Murray's suspicion that Hollywood wasn't the right fit for him. However, 1993's Groundhog Day rolled around. When it came out, it was the perfect movie. It was an odd and entertaining tale. A guy whose life is consumed by the repetition of a single day. And Murray used this opportunity to reveal a more complex side of himself. While filming, he had many heated arguments with Harold Ramis, the director. The tone was a point of contention for them. Ramis wanted it to be light-hearted, whereas Murray wanted it to be more contemplative. After the tension reached an all-time high, they ceased all communication and did not communicate for more than 2 decades. The tension, nevertheless, may have been beneficial. Reviewers praised Murray for his multi-layered performance,